Hi guys, welcome to part 3. I hope you're enjoying the crochet along so far. I'm really enjoying watching your projects come together, so keep those pictures coming. If you post pics, tag Hobbii and me and use the patterns hashtag so we can find your pics. In the last episode we made the body. Today we're making the neck, the belly and the blanket flap, so by the end of this episode your bag is going to be able to hold things inside it, which is pretty exciting. The special skills that we're going to be learning today include working into the sides of stitches, crocheting into a slip stitch and changing color. Remember that tutorials for all these special skills are available on Instagram as reels, so you can practice them before we begin, but I will demonstrate them as we go through the project as well. Subscribe so you don't miss any episodes, and you can also subscribe to my channel for more projects. If you're ready, let's dive in. For the neck we use color C and a 6mm hook, and we continue on round 14 of the body. We need to start in the 34th single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 31, 32, 33, and 34. Join with a slip stitch and chain 1. Then work 20 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 18, 19, 20. Leave the remaining stitches unworked. For round 2, chain 1, turn, and work 20 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 18, 19, 20. For row 3, chain 1 and turn, then work a decrease, (16) single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 14, 15, 16, and a decrease. For row 4, chain 1 and turn, work 18 single crochets, and the same for row 5. It's just 1 single crochet in each stitch, so I will meet you at the end of row 5. When we get to the end of row 5, we need to mark the 7th single crochet in the front loop only. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and just put the marker in the front loop. Don't remove that marker until row 7. For row 6, chain 1 and turn, then work 4 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4. Work 2 slip stitches. 1, 2, and mark the second slip stitch. Now we need to work 6 slip stitches in the front loops only. Now the front loops are always the ones that are closest to you, so even though we're working on the inside of the body, the front loops will be these ones that are closest to me. So just insert your hook into the front loop and work a slip stitch, and do that 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And notice how I've worked the slip stitches with the same tension as a normal stitch, so it's not squeezing the piece at all. Then work 2 slip stitches. We're just working into both loops again like normal. That's 1 and 2, and then 4 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4. For row 7, we're going to remove the markers as we reach them. Chain 1 and turn. Work an increase. 1 single crochet. Now we need to work 4 slip stitches, and during this section we're going to be working into the slip stitches from the previous round, so I'll show you how to work into a slip stitch as we go. So in this very next stitch, obviously you can just see the stitch hole and just work into it. And the next one is maybe a little bit trickier. There we're working into a slip stitch, but it's actually just like a normal stitch. When you work into a normal stitch, when you look at a normal stitch from the top, you see a V shape. And what you would normally do is insert your hook under that V. It's exactly the same for a slip stitch. When you look at your row from the top, you can see that V. And I'll just insert my hook under that V. And make my second slip stitch. And again in the next slip stitch, look at the row from the top, see that V, insert your hook in there. That's my third slip stitch. And for the fourth one, again, look at the row from the top, see the V, and insert your hook in there. So my 4 slip stitches are complete. Now we're going to work into row 5, and we're going to start on the marked stitch. So row 5 is where we have these unworked loops. So we're going to be working into these loops. Remove the marker. Starting in that first loop, work 6 slip stitches in the front loops only. So of course we can only work into the front loops because that's what's available here for working into. So I'll just insert my hook into that loop and make a slip stitch. And again into the next loop on row 5. That's number 2. Third slip stitch goes in the next loop and into the next loop. That's number 4, number 5, and number 6 goes into the last loop. So now all of those loops on row 5 are used up. Now we're going to go back to working on row 6. We're going to start in the marked stitch. That is a slip stitch again, so we need to look at the row from the top and work into the V. The V is nicely marked with a marker so we can see exactly where to work. I'm going to remove that marker and work into that stitch. And I need to make 4 slip stitches. 1 into the next V, 2 into the next one, 3 and 4. Then work 1 single crochet and an increase. Row 7 is complete. Don't tie off here. In this next step we're going to work the edge of the neck. So this portion is the neck. Here's the side of the neck, and we're going to work down this side to make an edge. During this step we're going to work into the sides of the stitches, so I'm going to teach you how to do that. We need to chain 1 and then work 1 single crochet into the side of each row from row 7 to row 1. So I'll start with a chain 1. Then I want to start working into the sides of the rows. So it says we need to start in row 7, which is the row that I'm currently on. To work into the side of this row, I'm just going to work into this very last single crochet. Then we need to work into the side of row 6. If I stretch the rows apart, you can see these holes between the rows. Those are the spaces that we need to work into. Essentially, you're going to be working into the stitch loops each time. Like we just did over here, we worked into the loops of the very last stitch. That's actually what happens in this next row as well, but an easy way to recognize it is just that it makes a really big hole between the 2 rows. So where you see that next hole, just insert your hook, that's row 6, and make 1 single crochet. Then do the same between the next 2 rows, find the hole and make a single crochet. And again between the next 2 rows, there's the hole and make a single crochet. Repeat that in the next row and the next row, and we reached row 1. So there we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1 single crochet in each row for 7 rows. Then we're going to work into round 14 of the body. So to do that, just start directly in the next available single crochet of the body. That will be this one. It's 1 stitch away from the end of the round. Just start working directly there and make 13 single crochets. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 11, 12, 13. Then make a decrease. Then work 4 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4. Make another decrease. And then 14 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 12, 13, 14. We've used up all of the stitches that were available on the body, and we've reached the neck again. Now we need to work into the sides of the stitches again. Work 1 single crochet in each row from row 1 to row 7. So again, if you stretch the rows apart, you can see the holes between each row, and that's where we're going to work into. Another easy way to get your bearings is to follow the line along the row and stop at the hole in the end, and that's where your hook needs to go into. So right now we're in this position, we're working on the body, and we need to work into row 1 of the neck. We need to work in between row 1 and row 2 into that hole. Make 1 single crochet, and again into the next row, into the hole at the end of the row. 2, and into the next row 3, and the next one 4, and the next one 5, into row 6, and then into row 7 we'll actually be working into the loops of that very first single crochet. And our 7 single crochets in the sides of the rows are complete. Now the pattern says work 1 slip stitch into the first single crochet to close the round, connecting the 2 sides to form a neck hole. In other words, you need to work into the first single crochet of row 1 of the edge of the neck, not into row 7 of the neck. This is row 7 of the neck, and this is the edge of the neck. So we need to go back to the beginning of the edge of the neck, which is this side of it. This is where the edge of the neck began, so we need to work into that first single crochet. Make 1 slip stitch, and that will close the neck to make a neck hole. At this point, if you want to, you can mark the 10th single crochet of this row to help with identifying where to start the blanket flap later. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then we can move on to row 2. For row 2, we specifically need to work into the edge of the neck again, not into row 7 of the neck. Chain 1, and then starting in the same spaces where you made that slip stitch, into that same single crochet, we're going to work into the back loop of that stitch. So just picking up the back loop of that single crochet and begin working 19 single crochets, working into the back loop of each stitch. That's 2, 3, 4, 9, 10, 11, 18, 19. Then work 4 decreases, and remember we still need to work in the back loops only. It's the same method as making a normal invisible decrease, but we're working into the back loops instead of the front loops. So insert your hook into the back loop of the next stitch and the back loop of the next stitch, yarn over, draw through 2 loops, yarn over, draw through 2 loops. Do that 4 times. So into the back loop of the next stitch and the back loop of the next stitch, yarn over, draw through 2, yarn over, draw through 2. And we need 2 more decreases like that. So there's 1 more, and there's the last one. Then we just need to work 20 single crochets into these back loops. It's also an option to work slip stitches here instead if you prefer that look, although that isn't mentioned in the pattern, it is an option. I'll go ahead and work these 20 stitches and I'll see you when they're done. Working into both loops again, work 1 slip stitch into the first single crochet to close the round. So the first single crochet of round 2 that we've just worked is over here. Want to go into both loops of that stitch and make a slip stitch. Then tie off, leaving an 85 centimeter sewing thread. The neck is complete, and now we can move on to the belly. For the belly, we're using color C and a 6mm hook. We're going to continue working from round 1 of the body, and during this round we're going to work into every single chain from round 1, and we're also going to work into every available stitch that is on the last round of the legs. During this step we're going to work into the chain, so I'm going to teach you how to do that. To begin, we need to join our yarn at the marked chain. When we mark this chain, we just hook the marker onto that 1 loop, but when we crochet into the chain, we actually need to go into the same loop as where the other stitches have already been worked. Initially, when we worked round 2, we worked into the top loop of every chain. So here we see all the stitches of round 2, and at the base of every stitch post you can see the chain hole that we worked into. So there's a single crochet stitch post, and the hole where that stitch post is in, those are the holes we need to work into. So essentially we're working into the top loops of the chain again, but we're coming from the other side this time. And we want to start at the marked chain, but we want to work into the same space as where that single crochet was. So insert your hook at the base of that single crochet's post. Then you can remove the marker. Join the yarn with a slip stitch, then chain 1 and work 6 single crochets and begin in the space where you are. 1, and then into the next chain space right at the base of that single crochet. So each time you're grabbing 2 chain loops on your hook, work a single crochet and go over that loose end as you go. That's number 3. 4. 5. And number 6 is in the last available chain, each time picking up 2 chain loops. So we've used up all 6 of those chains and we've reached the leg. Now it's time to work into the available stitches that are on the leg. So on the leg we have 4 single crochets that haven't been worked into. This one over here already has a stitch in it, so we're going to start in that one. That is your first available single crochet that has nothing worked into it. I'm going to work 4 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now all the stitches on that leg are used up and we've reached the chain again. Across this section of the body we have 4 chains and we need to work 4 single crochets. So here we can see there's 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're not working into that odd little space there, but starting in the chain over here. And remember, each time we work into a chain, you want to grab both loops of the chain on your hook and make a single crochet and do that in each chain. So that's 2, 3, 4. All those chains are used up and we've reached another leg where we will have 4 single crochets available for working into again. So we're going to work a stitch into each one. This single crochet is already used up, so we're going to start in that one which is available. 1, 2, 3, 4. Stitches on that leg are used up now, and we've reached another chain section on the body where we need to work 11 single crochets. That's 1 single crochet into each of these 11 chains. So again, this funny little gap is not a chain, but this is the chain that you want to work into. So you can see here's a single crochet and that's where it is worked into the chain in that hole. So that's where we want to go in, grabbing both loops on your hook and make a single crochet and repeat that in every chain. That's 2, 3, 10, 11. So all of those chains have been worked into. We've reached another leg that has 4 stitches for us to work into. 1, 2, 3, 4. We reached another chain section where we have 4 chains and we'll work 1 single crochet into each of them, starting over here. One, 2, 3, 4, and then into the leg 4 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4, and we've reached the chain section on the body again. And here we have 5 chains left over, so we'll work 5 single crochets here, starting in the space where that single crochet is. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. Round 2 is pretty simple, but I'll go through it with you. Continue working in the round and use a running stitch marker. Begin with 10 single crochets, so we're just starting directly in the first single crochet of the previous round. 1, 2, 9, 10, then work 2 decreases, one, two, then work 19 single crochets, 1, 2, 18, 19, and then 2 decreases, one, two, and then 9 single crochets, 1, 2, 8, 9. Rounds 3 to 5 are very similar, so I'm going to skip ahead to the end of round 5 and I'll see you there. When you reach the end of round 5, this is how the piece should look. Now we can tie off, leaving a 45 centimeter sewing thread. I'm going to remove the running stitch marker. In the next step we need to sew the belly closed, but the sewing thread is kind of in the middle of the belly, so we need to transport the sewing thread to one end of the belly so that we can start sewing it up. I'll thread it onto my needle, and then on the inside of the body I'll just start taking the sewing thread through these stitches, and I'm going to work it towards this end of the slit. And when I get to the end, I'm just going to bring my sewing thread out to the right side of the body through that stitch. So now it's positioned in the middle of the slit and I'm ready to start sewing. So during this step, we're going to sew the slit closed, working into the front loops as we go. I'm going to use the back of my needle just so that I don't split the yarn. Go into the front loop of each stitch and start sewing this closed with a whip stitch. And you just work your way along, going through the front loop of each corresponding stitch. So that sewing seam is complete. To weave in the loose end, I'm just going to take it through to the inside of the body. And then I'm just going to weave it into these stitches. And this will just be like weaving in a normal strand of yarn. The belly is complete, so we can move on to the next piece. In this step, I'm going to show you how to put the leg supports inside the legs. You're going to put them inside the body and they're going to go all the way down inside the legs. You can use the back of a hook to help push them down. So looking inside the body, all the legs are hollow and there's a space where you can push the support into. Push it in until the opening aligns with the end of the leg, and then you can push the loose ends down inside the leg support. Do exactly the same for all 4 of the legs. For the blanket flap, begin with color C and a 6mm hook. For this round, we're going to be working into round 1 of the next edge. And we need to crochet into those front loops that we left unworked during that round. So you can see these loops that make a ridge along the base of round 2. Those are the loops we're going to work into. We need to start in the 10th stitch. So if you did happen to mark your stitch at the time, it will be the marked one. And you need to work into the loop where the marker goes into. So it'll be this loop. If you didn't mark your stitch, I'm going to show you how to find that 10th single crochet. So to recognize it, you can follow the ridge up to the very first one that you can see on this round. That'll be number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and just insert your hook into that loop. Join the yarn with a slip stitch, then chain 1 and work 12 single crochets, working into all of these front loops as you go. So that's 1, 2, I'm crocheting over the loose end as I go, 3, 11. We're about to work the 12th single crochet, but the pattern says that we need to change to color A as we work the 12th stitch. So I'm going to show you how to change color. To do a color change, begin a single crochet like normal. So I'm going to go into that loop, yarn over, draw up a loop. Then I'm going to drop my current color, pick up the new color, and finish my single crochet. So I'll just grab that on my hook and draw through the 2 loops. That completes the single crochet, and now I have the new color on my hook, and you can tug these ends to pull the stitch into the correct tension. Then the pattern says twist the yarns once, and to do this you need to pass the current color towards you and then under the discarded color. So I'm going to bring the current color towards me and then underneath the discarded color. I just happen to have my loose end here as well, but specifically we need to wrap it around this yarn. Also, just be sure to keep the tension of the stitch so that it looks like the other stitches. For row 2, chain 1 and turn. Then we need to work 11 single crochets using the new color, color A. And we're going to crochet over the old color, color C, as we go to carry it along as we go. I'm also going to crochet over this loose end because we need to crochet over loose ends at every chance that we get. So starting directly in the last stitch of round 1, I'll go in there and start working 11 single crochets. That's 1, 2, 3, 10, 11. Now the pattern says tug color C to pull up any slack without distorting the piece. We can hold this end to stop it from distorting the row as we pull it. And you just want to pull up any slack that's inside there. And we can do the same for the loose end that we carried along. Then work 1 single crochet and change to color C on that stitch. These color changes all work in exactly the same way. You begin a single crochet like normal, yarn over, draw up a loop, drop your current yarn, pick up the new color, and complete the stitch with the new yarn. Now I have color C on my hook ready to make the next row, and you can tug color A just to make that tension the same as the other stitches. Then the pattern says twist the yarns once, we already know from the previous instruction that the correct way to twist the yarn is to pass the current color towards you and then under the discarded color. So that twist is complete. Now we can work row 3. For row 3 to 13, we're going to do the same thing as row 2, alternating in stripes of color C and color A. So I'll skip ahead and meet you there. When you work round 13, there's no color change at the end of that round. So we'll just finish off with a normal stitch and then tie off. And don't forget to pull up the slack after that last row. Now we're going to make an edge around the blanket flap. For the edge around the blanket flap, we're going to use color A and a 6mm hook. To start off, turn the bag over, and then we're going to work into the 22nd single crochet on row 1 of the bag's edge. So remember, row 1 is where we have these front loops that make a visible ridge, and to identify the 22nd single crochet, it's the one directly next to the blanket flap. So when we made the blanket flap, we worked into all of these loops, and at the point where you stopped, that next stitch is the 22nd single crochet. But we need to work into it from the other side. So insert your hook into that loop and then join color C with a slip stitch. Now we're going to work into the sides of the stitches, and it's exactly the same method as we did on the edge of the neck. Don't start with a chain, but just start crocheting directly into the sides of the rows. We know that our first row was this white one, and so our first single crochet into the sides of the stitches needs to go in between the white row and the blue row. In other words, between row 1 and row 2. And remember, when you're working into the sides of the stitches, all you really need to look for is the hole that is at the end of each row. So starting in this hole, I'll make a single crochet and go crochet over my loose end as I go. We need to work 1 single crochet into each row from row 1 to row 12. That was row 1. So now we're going to work into the side of row 2. So that's 2, and we just keep doing that for every row. That's number 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So now we have 1 single crochet in the side of each row from row 1 to row 12. Now we're going to work into row 13. We'll start in the very last single crochet of the row at this end. And the pattern says work an increase and then 10 single crochets. Let's start with an increase. And then work 10 single crochets. 1, 2, 9, 10, and then work an increase. So we've worked into every single crochet of row 13. Then the pattern says work 1 single crochet into the sides of every row from row 12 to row 1. This is row 12, that's row 13. So to work into the side of the row, we need to work into the hole that is between these 2 rows at the end of the row. So it would be that hole, and it'll be the same for every row. So that's row 12. Row 11. Row 10, row 9, row 8, row 7, row 6, row 5, row 4, row 3, row 2, and row 1. So there we have one single crochet in each row from row 12 to row 1. Then the pattern says into the next stitch on row 1 of the next edge, which is the 9th single crochet, work a slip stitch. So if you remember, we started making the flap by working into the 10th single crochet of the next edge, and now we need to slip stitch in the 9th single crochet. So that'll be the stitch directly next to where the flap is. So we can clearly see where the flap was worked into these loops over here, and we still have this ridge of loops that haven't been used. So we want to work into the loop that is directly next to the flap. So into that loop, make a slip stitch. Then you can tie off and weave in the loose ends. Once that's done, part 3 is complete and we can move on to part 4. That's it for part 3, and our bag is really starting to take shape now. We learned a lot of new skills today, including working into the sides of stitches, crocheting into a slip stitch, and changing color. I would love to know which one of these you enjoyed the most and which one you think is going to be the most useful to you in your itinerary going forward. I'm really enjoying watching your projects take shape, so keep those pictures coming. If you post pictures, tag Hobbii and me and use the pattern hashtag so we can find your pics. I'll see you next time in part 4 to make the head, the mane and the tail.